Hello and welcome to the first episode of Fan Favorites, a series where my viewers submit their Letterboxd top 4 and I watch them and give my thoughts. I received 778 submissions for this series, so chances are I'm never going to get to yours and I apologize. But I have a random number generator right here. Between 1 and 778, I'm going to hit generate, and whoever that is, I'm going to do it. 148. Here we go. 148. I will hide the email, but I also ask people to add anything they want to add. So this person kind of spoils one of their movies. The Majestic is criminally underrated in my opinion. To be fair, I am a huge Jim Carrey fan and grew up with his films, but I think it has a lot to say about creating a cinematic experience and bringing the magic back in the theater. I really hope you enjoy this movie as much as I do. I'm going to take this profile link, throw it in a new tab, and close my eyes. It's already up, so I'm going to look, and here it is. Okay. So this is an interesting list. I have seen 2 of these. So we got Birdman, Inarritu, classic. I've seen Birdman like 3 times, and then Annie Hall. I've seen Annie Hall like probably 15 times. One of my favorite movies ever. But we have 2 interesting movies here. Megamind, which is an animated movie that I've heard is actually quite good. Megamind has sort of a die-hard fan base, and I've never seen it. And then, as they mentioned, The Majestic. And it's a Jim Carrey movie. I've heard of it. Don't know much else. Looks like it's about a movie theater, maybe like a Cinema Paradiso sort of movie. I don't know who directed The Majestic. It was Frank Darabont. Did he do Shawshank Redemption? Yeah, he did Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile. So, hey, good director. So their name is TF20. And when I click on Megamind, I see they've reviewed it 3 times. They pretty well watch this every year. The first review says Citizen Kane if it was good, which is interesting. I'd love to see a good version of Citizen Kane. And then their latest review is, this is the greatest movie ever made, a perfect script, wrapped in a beautiful bow of animation and incredible casting. I couldn't imagine the movie without these specific voices. This movie makes it impossible for me not to say the lines before the characters say them. I can't help it, man. They're all just so good. This movie never gets old. I will forever cherish this film with all my soul. Brad Pitt is so cool, man. I love Brad Pitt. So it's got me excited to watch Megamind. This really seems like the pinnacle of movies right now. Let's see what they think about Annie Hall. They say, technically a Christmas movie, my first ever Woody Allen flick, and say what you will about him, but this movie is so fucking good. Yeah, whenever you talk about Woody Allen, he's one of those directors like Polanski or somebody that you have to like sort of dance around like, he sucks, but, you know. So many creative decisions with the fourth wall breaks and the subtitles made me think, wait, you can do that? Such a boundary-breaking movie, and it was made 40 years ago. Was not expecting Shelley Duvall to pop up out of nowhere, but it was cool. Alvy Singer is also the physical embodiment of the nerd emoji. I don't see a review for Birdman, so that's what we got to go off of. And I'm going to watch Megamind, The Majestic, and maybe even revisit Birdman. When I saw Birdman, I'm like, this is a masterpiece. I love it. But I haven't watched it in a long time. I'm curious if it'll hold up, if it might feel a little too technical and not much else. I'll rewatch Birdman. So thank you, TF20. Episode 1 is off to a Megamind start here on this channel. When Birdman first came out 10 or 11 years ago, which is scary that that's true, I remember being kind of obsessed with it. I watched it maybe 3 or 4 times. I was fresh in film school, and you know, anything that approached filmmaking from a really cool technical angle, like this like faked one take, was enough to win infinite brownie points for me at the time. So going into rewatching it, I was a little worried that nowadays I'm a little less wowed by technical stuff. You know, growing up I loved Enter the Void, but I don't know how I'd feel nowadays because I think emotionally it might feel a bit more hollow or one note. And I was worried the same about Birdman would be true. And I think my first note I want to make about rewatching Birdman, and this is coming from me, everyone knows me, they're sick of me, my cynical anti-Hollywood angle. But I think Birdman, what comes to mind is the phrase, have your cake and eat it too, a bit. Because it simultaneously wants to be this scathing takedown of Hollywood and egos and these big actors. You know, they reference Ryan Gosling or George Clooney in a tongue-in-cheek way. But meanwhile, I'm looking at Edward Norton and I'm like, wait, that guy's famous too. He's in those circles. He's A-list, you know. It almost feels like a movie that would have been more impactful with like lesser known faces. Because I feel like as it stands, like, yes, it's good to be self-aware. It's nice to see a movie made in Hollywood that is self-aware and critical of Hollywood. But then that same movie wins Best Picture and Iñárritu goes up and accepts the award happily. And I'm like, how much did you actually believe that Hollywood is a cesspool of losers and egos and it's got to be all burnt down? Because that's sort of the angle Birdman takes. And lo and behold, they still show up to the lavish award ceremony and with a smile accept it. And I think that feels a bit disingenuous. And maybe that's like a bit too much assigning the real world to I could just focus on the movie, of course. But it still feels like, you know, a bunch of the actors went on to act in a bunch of slop, you know? Michael Keaton did No Way Home. Freaking Zach Galifianakis. Is this before Masterminds or whatever? I don't know. Maybe that movie's good. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, it just feels a bit have your cake and eat it too to do this big, snarky takedown of Hollywood and superhero movies and be so above it. But then you still get those lavish awards and praise that gives you the opportunity to keep creating. And if there's any credit to be given, Emma Stone would go on to have a very interesting, cool career. She seems to be somebody who chooses projects based on how interesting they are rather than like the paycheck. And Iñárritu went on to make Bardo, which I haven't seen, which is supposedly just a big, weird passion project that a lot of people don't like. But I admire that he did it, you know, after Birdman and The Revenant, he could have easily just kept banging out Hollywood movies, but he had to go make this passion project, which makes me really want to see it. I'm curious how that movie is. I sometimes like those big, weird passion projects that people hate. So we'll see. Anyways, I digress. That could be a whole tangent. Ultimately, rewatching Birdman was still a delight. I don't think the one take is a gimmick. I do think sometimes they cheat too much. Like, there's certain moments in Birdman that I'm like when they like pan up to the sky and do a time lapse, I'm like, okay, that takes me out of the one take. Or when he's flying through the city and it like kind of does a solar flare and then the solar flare goes away, like that's a cut. Like that's not a one take anymore. You've now cut in that moment, which sort of cheapens it a little because, you know, it's a faked one take. It's not a real one take. But the whole point of the one take, beyond the obvious parallel with the movies about a play, so it's trying to use the language of theater, this real-time high-wire act that theater is trying to bring that into film as well. And what comes with that is a sense of tension. Anything can go wrong. It feels like at any moment somebody could slip up their line and they have to restart the whole movie. But when you have these moments that are clear effects shots or places that they cut, like if they pan to a wall, you're like, okay, that was a cut. Or when they go fully dark when somebody's about to open a door, it's like, okay, that was a cut. It sort of takes you out of the movie a bit. You start to be like, okay, I know, I'm seeing the magic trick while the magic trick's happening. And I'd be much more enthralled to still be in that magic trick. But it still works. It's an exciting, unique format. Only so many movies have done it still. Like, I think one takes are being a bit exhausted, especially in TV these days. I feel like every show these days has at least one episode that's all in one take. And it's cool when they do it for real. You know, like I've done 2 movies that are long one-shots. The Text and The Call are like 45-minute actual one takes. So I'm not like gonna critique the format. I love the format. It's cool. But I do think it's like still holds enough. It doesn't feel like Birdman's doing it in a totally like synchronous way with all these other movies. It's doing it in a very unique way. It's very like concerned with these close-ups. I think like part of me is like, man, a lot of this like one take results in these really tight angles on people that I'm like, ooh, I'd like to like pull back and have this like just the whole movie be shot a little wider. But nonetheless, I do think it still holds up, and it has a life of its own, like a energy of its own. I feel like there's a very few movies like that. Upper echelon of movies for me are the ones that feel so singular. And I don't think there's any movie that like moves and breathes and talks like Birdman. Like the snappy dialogue, the drum score that like becomes diegetic when we see the drummer. Like that's so unique. And then just like it does have this very unique snarkiness towards Hollywood. It's a self-awareness, you know. I think that's coming back to my first point. Like the self-awareness of it is cool. It's like, okay, all these Hollywood stars are picking apart Hollywood. But I think if it was made by like somebody with outsider perspective, more like outsider art perspective on things, it could have been more of a middle finger to Hollywood. And as it stands, it feels like a bit of a playful pat on the back. Like, we are insufferable. Now here's your gift package and your Oscar. Let's go to a mansion party and forget it. You know, like it seems a bit too easy to like have your cake and eat it too. But I loved rewatching this. It holds up. 4 out of 5 for me. This is still a great movie, great performances, and it has a lot to say, even if it feels a bit wishy-washy. Yep. Several years ago, I noticed a lot of people were logging the movie Surf's Up and reevaluating it as sort of a great animated movie. And it was sort of funny because I was like, Surf's Up? I think as a kid, I didn't watch that because I thought it looked generic. And lo and behold, people love it now, so I gave it a shot with my friend, and Surf's Up is a great movie. It's really fun. It's shot like a mockumentary. Sometimes they kind of cheat a lot and do a lot of angles that wouldn't be possible, so that frustrated me. But regardless, it's like a mockumentary and is genuinely really funny. It has so many good gags and a decent story, and I really like Surf's Up. And another movie since then that I've seen getting a similar treatment is Megamind. I see a lot of people who are huge fans of this online. I know the YouTuber Shay Frillis. I listen to his videos. He is obsessed with Megamind. And I never gave it a chance until now, but I knew I always wanted to. So this was a fun opportunity to give it a shot. I don't think the reevaluation of Megamind holds up as well as Surf's Up. I even think Surf's Up, you know, is a bit generic at times. But I think Megamind does have a lot of moments that I would change. Like, I don't like the needle drops. I think there's like an AC/DC and a Guns N' Roses. And I'm like, I'd much rather this use more superhero score. It had a little of that, but it had too many needle drops. And the second they start doing that, it feels very DreamWorks-y in a way. Like, I think it doesn't escape that DreamWorks smirking accusations as much as it could. But with that said, I really like the plotting of this movie. Like, it's really a great, unique concept. I don't need to go over. I'm sure many of you know the story. But just like the taking a villain and making him the hero in this way while also still allowing him to be the villain. I've never seen Despicable Me. Maybe I don't know which came out first either, but maybe it owes a lot to Megamind. But it was just a fun movie to watch unfold. It has a lot of fun twists and turns and things you might not expect to see in like a kid's movie nowadays. It has like, I wouldn't call them edgy, but it has some darker moments. You know, it does have moments of death and like at least perceived death. And it was a lot of fun. The voice acting is good. Jonah Hill kind of plays himself. That feels really mean to say. But it was fun to watch. I think I don't think I could see myself revisiting this, but I'm glad that TF20, who loves this movie, loves it as much as they do. Thanks for the recommendation. I wish I had more to say. Megamind. I didn't really know anything about The Majestic going into it. I just knew that Jim Carrey gives a serious performance, and I really love him in Eternal Sunshine. I love him in The Truman Show, so I was excited. And yeah, this movie, it falls into this camp of movies that came out in the 90s and early 2000s that have all but gone extinct. And the only way I could describe them is like Forrest Gump movies. They're like this achingly sincere movie about somebody's life or a chapter in somebody's life that just has wall-to-wall string score guiding your emotions, and they're just shot in such warm ways. You know, I don't know how else to describe it, but they verge on corny, especially with a modern lens. But all that corniness feels like it's coming from an earnest and sincere place. And I feel like in its place these days, we get a lot of like self-seriousness. You know, like I think stories about people's lives now are treated with such gravity and heaviness, which can be great, but it loses a bit of the magic. There's a certain magic in this era of filmmaking, and maybe Frank Darabont, the director in general, is a great like person to look at for this type of filmmaking. Like The Green Mile and Shawshank are very much this type of filmmaking, this very sincere, I don't know what another word to even use for it. It just feels like not emotionally manipulative, but just emotionally elevated the whole time. And truth be told, The Majestic only kind of worked for me. It's long, it's 2.5 hours, and the movie's named after this movie theater in the movie, and I really wanted it to be a movie about that movie theater. You know, my favorite part of the movie was Jim Carrey and this father figure and the workers at this theater trying to get it up and running. But that's not even the B plot, that's the C plot. The A plot of this movie is Jim Carrey gets amnesia, winds up in this town, and may or may not be this guy that they thought died 9 years ago. That's the A plot, this amnesia plot. And you know, amnesia plots can be sort of played out, so there was parts of this that I was like just being dragged along to watch. And then the B plot is this communist plot where, you know, the Jim Carrey's this ousted communist filmmaker who's ousted by the studio in the 50s, I think. And that is only so interesting as well. And the C plot, I wanted so badly to be the main plot of this movie theater because, you know, I love Cinema Paradiso. I love movies about movies. And I actually adored the first like 18 minutes of this. Like the opening shot is incredible, where it's just holding on Jim Carrey's face as he has to sit through these insufferable studio notes. And I almost thought we were going to have another Birdman on our hands, like a Hollywood movie that's hypercritical of Hollywood, but then the movie just gets so far away from that sort of movie-centric storytelling. Yeah, I don't know what I feel about this. Hollywood loves to make movies critical of the Red Scare and McCarthyism, and I think it's a good thing to be critical of. It's a crazy time in American history, just a total witch hunt, the Crucible, etc. But nonetheless, it feels a bit half-baked and half-earned to me. And maybe this is once again like I did with Birdman, getting too much into the politics of it. But I'm like Oppenheimer, I even brought this up. Like, movies are so quick, Hollywood movies are so quick to be like critical of how people treated people with different beliefs in communism. And they're like, we were too hard on people who may or may not be communist. What a ridiculous time in our history. But simultaneously, these movies are being made in such an inherently capitalist machine. You know, like Jim Carrey, I'm sure, got millions for this movie, and as did the executives and people on top, even though it flopped. You know, it's just so confusing to me, like, to like have this immense sympathy for these communists, and maybe it's just a base level of like, oh, these people were treated bad, but we don't care about their ideology. We're not going to uphold any of that stuff that they were fighting for, they cared about, you know. And I'm not a historian, but just from a base level perspective, I'm like, oh, like Oppenheimer made $1 billion and that's like celebrated and touted. And I'm like, isn't this movie like trying to sympathize with communists, and yet it like in the production methods and how the movie's released and celebrated, it's sort of the most capitalist thing in the world? it just is at odds. And maybe I'm not the one to talk about this because I'm only so well educated in the matter. But it's just a little strange. But nonetheless, this movie is sappy. It's nice. It has some really good scenes. Like I love the opening, like I said. I love when it returns to that shot later in the movie. The trailer gives away too damn much. I never watched trailers. I watched the trailer after the movie because I'm like, I wonder if they give away the truth about Jim Carrey's character's identity in the trailer. And they do. Even though the first hour and a half of this 2.5 hour movie, you're not really sure what his identity is. But the trailer just says it in the narration. I'm like, what the hell? I hate trailers that give away anything past the first act. I don't want to know the twist into the second act, because then the whole first act, I'm just waiting for it. I don't want to see a shot of Jim Carrey in a courtroom at the end of the trailer, because I'm just waiting for him to be in a courtroom. And it doesn't happen till the last 20 minutes. So I'm just like, what the hell? Trailers? What the fuck? That's just a sidebar, I guess. But The Majestic was nice. I do really love movies like this. The warmth, the sincerity. It's great to see. And, I'll take like a movie that misses the mark that has those qualities any day over like a movie that's just a little too self-serious or a little like withheld from the magic. Like, Hollywood, bring us magic again. Let us get lost in strings. Just play strings more, please. Last but not least is Annie Hall, and I didn't even have to rewatch this for this video. I watched it about a year ago, which might have been my 10th or 11th watch of this movie. I love Annie Hall so much. It is such a delightful, great film. It hits such emotional and comedic highs. It has such a unique structure, the non-chronological nature of it hopping around. And just the narration is great. The opening monologue, the closing monologue, it's all just incredible. A few rom-coms hit these heights that Annie Hall did so seamlessly 50 years ago. You know, I think every rom-com is trying to be Annie Hall in a way. Hiccups, my movie, got a lot of comments like, oh, this is just Annie Hall. I don't think it's that much of a copy. I think they're very different characters and stories and scenarios. But structurally, yes, I was pulling from Annie Hall, because why not go back to the blueprint? Why not go to the Bible when you're wanting to tell a biblical story? You know? But I love Annie Hall. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. Everything about it works. All the big swings for the fences it takes stylistically work. And it's just timeless. And I think there's never going to be a rom-com like it, because it really kind of defined and redefined a genre. And I have nothing else to say other than this is forever a 5 out of 5 for me. Just a fantastic movie. I'm glad TF20 likes it too. I'm glad you like it. I think the way I'm going to end these videos is adding up all 4 scores to get a score out of 20 to see how much this top 4 aligned with my taste. Once again, I don't want to poo-poo anyone's favorite movies. These are just my opinions on the movies. Anyways, Birdman was a 4 out of 5 for me. Used to be a 5 out of 5. I think I just butt heads with it a little more this time, but still such a unique, great movie. Megamind, 3 out of 5. Just a great, enjoyable time. Just a little bit generic for me. But it's so funny, when I give 3 out of 5, some people act like I stabbed the movie. They're like, people comment like, do you not like movies, Joel? I'm like, I like this one, the one you're commenting on. 3 out of 5 is good. That's a good score. That's like on the positive side of things. I'm so confused. The internet is weird. Anyways, 3 out of 5. Majestic, also 3 out of 5. I just don't think it left a lasting impact. I like how nostalgic it was. I like the feel of the movie, but it's a bit long and unfocused and didn't focus on the things I wanted it to. And lastly, we got Annie Hall. This is a gimme, 5 out of 5. One of my all-time favorite movies. I probably will rewatch it soon just because I always rewatch Annie Hall. But anyways, total score, add that all up. Bloop, 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 bloop. The total score is 15 out of 20, which is actually really good. What is it? That's like a 3 out of 4, or I don't know how to do it. 7.5 out of 10. that's a really good score. Like, that's pretty aligned with my taste. I'd say this list aligns with my taste as far as like American movies go, because every movie on this list is an American movie. And I really enjoy sort of nostalgic old stuff like The Majestic and especially Annie Hall. And then I like stuff that is kind of walking like that Hollywood line but does something unique, like Megamind is a little more unique than your typical generic kids movie. And then like Birdman is a super unique movie that is still being created with these stars we know. But I'd say if I end this video on one note, I think I want to give some recommendations to the person who gave me this list, and my viewers enjoy these movies too. Off the top of my head, Surf's Up. If you like Megamind and somehow you haven't also revisited Surf's Up, you should. It's a great animated movie. As far as Annie Hall goes, like, I always am like rewatching Woody Allen movies, hoping to chase that high I got with Annie Hall. And I think the ones that came closest, it's been a long time since I've seen them, but it's Stardust Memories and Radio Days. And I recently watched Hannah and Her Sisters. I love those movies. Those are great Annie Hall adjacent Woody Allen movies. Quite different still. None of his movies quite have that exact same magic, but they're still great movies. And I don't know, what else for Birdman? There's the movie Victoria, all done in one shot for real. I saw that years ago when it first came out. I haven't seen it since, but I remember being quite taken by that movie in the one-take format and how it was used. And lastly, what would I recommend for The Majestic? Like that sort of old Hollywood vibe. I'd say, what have I seen lately that I could recommend, I guess is the real question. Because I grew up loving Forrest Gump, but I can't recommend Forrest Gump. I haven't seen it in like 15 years. But maybe just watch Forrest Gump. I should rewatch Forrest Gump. Maybe another like Jim Carrey movie. Obviously, you've probably seen The Truman Show or Eternal Sunshine. But yeah, I loved watching these movies. It was cool to have like a set list of movies to watch. I was like, I'm not going to get lost scrolling the catalogs. I'm just going to seek out these movies and watch them however I could find them. And next episode, I'm just going to keep pulling from the same Google form submission. So I'm going to leave it in the link of each episode of this series. Submit your top 4, your Letterboxd profile. Please do. And as a final little, this is such a gift. What a generous person I am. But each person I do this series on, I'm gonna follow on Letterboxd. I know it's not some great reward, but I'm gonna follow you because I'm just curious what else you watch. Now that I have a general sense of your taste and things you like, I'll keep in touch over Letterboxd. I'll see what you're logging. And so TF20, after this video goes live, I'm gonna follow you. Yep, I'm following you. I hope this was fun. It's essentially just a long Joel Talks About Movies video because it just winds up being me talking at length about 4 movies as well as the intro. I hope it's a fun series. Maybe you could put it on like a podcast. You know, it's essentially going to probably be a pretty chonky video. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for submitting. I can't wait to do it again. I'll probably pull the next person's name in the next couple days. I love you guys. I love movies. Bye-bye.